Spiritual Center. Welcome to your Spiritual Center. Today we're talking about forgiveness, but I've just been talking about that we are the divine. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. Yes, the kingdom of heaven is within. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And how come that ain't true for us? I use angel on purpose to get through. Because see, we have all of these foibles, so they're known as programmed beliefs. And what happens is the programmed beliefs get in our way of living the spiritual life. And I'm going to take a broad step out. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it, so get ready. In the 1980s, I had the opportunity to sit in a seminar with Bob Proctor. Some of you know Bob Proctor. And a really, really, really excellent spiritual teacher. And he did a workshop. I was in Unity, Atlanta at that time. And those of you know Steve Boland, who used to be the minister at Unity on the Hill. Steve and I were in the church, that church together. And I didn't remember it when I came here. Steve reminded me that we were together all those years ago. Anyway, and Bob Proctor did a workshop for the minister at that time, who was called Jay Dishman. So the only reason I bring that up is Bob shared a diagram which made a difference for me, and I haven't used it for years. I used to use it when I was doing my around the world conversations, but I'd like to share it with you, and we're going to talk about forgiveness. So believe it or not, we're talking about forgiveness. Well, the first thing we need to know is how that mechanism works. Okay? So, everybody ready? Now, this is who we are. Everybody ready? So this is a picture of your mind, and this is a stick figure. Everybody got it? Okay? And now, please understand this is gender neutral. I have to be careful with that. Okay? Now, this is us, and this is what we call the conscious mind or the aware mind. Okay? This is the mind that right now is hearing me, seeing me, experiencing touch, feeling the energies of the person next to you. This is the person that is in the world. And it is the five senses, and those five senses are touch. Okay? Anybody help me? Sight.
Hear.
Say it again.
Hearing.
Hear. Right. Hear.
Smell.
Smell. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Taste.
Say it again.
Taste.
Taste. Good. So this is how we experience our world. Everybody there? And this is the aware part that is functioning in our brain right now. Okay? So you're hearing me, you're seeing me, you're thinking, what are all these going to do? There's all that stuff going on in your head. Okay? Now, there's another part called the subconscious, okay, or the unconscious. And what's happening is, it is taking and looking at all these senses and then storing it like a database. Everybody there? So everything you have you touched, saw, heard, smelled, or tasted comes in here, and then this is a processing center. And this is stores it like a database. Okay, anybody familiar with AI? Artificial intelligence. So in artificial intelligence, what happens is the computer goes out, you ask it a question, the computer goes out into the whole realm of information on the internet, assembles everything it knows about whatever you ask, brings it all in, and then in the background puts it together and gives an opinion, or it gives you a novel, or it gives you an article. Everybody there? That's exactly what this is. There's a database of everything you have touched, everything, and what your reaction in feeling to it was. Now, you got to come over here and add subtle. Okay? There are some other senses. Anybody agree that hunger might be a sense? Okay. Now it's a physical issue, but it could be. You also have a feeling of space. When somebody's too close, you're uncomfortable. When somebody's too far away, you have a sense of space. So there are all of these subtle energies that you're experiencing that are subtle beyond, and they're automatically stored here in the database. And anytime something comes in from the outside through one of these, it comes in here, then the question is, how do I react to that? And anybody agree you don't know how to react immediately? Well, a lot of times you have automatic reaction. The automatic reaction is occurring from here, not here. Got it? And so what we do here is all connected not only to what we're aware of, but generally what we're subconsciously stored from all the things that occurred in our life. So, anybody familiar with psychosis problems that people are dealing with an issue? Somebody said, you'll never amount to anything in early life, and now they're struggling in life. So these are all the subconscious conversations that we have stored and automatically react to. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, this is what Bob Proctor did, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Okay? Now, I'm at it. Ready? Because I really, honestly, I'm sharing this with you. This is, okay? We have an interesting thing. We have a heart. And I'm going to draw it approximately here. Okay? And in that heart, this is called divinity. Divine. Okay? And this is divine programming. This is all the promises that are in the Bible. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is within it. You are the light of the world. These are things you really are. Everybody got it? This is who you are. And that's stored here in the heart level. Okay, now, and I'm quoting off the top of my head, but the Bible says, or Jesus is quoted saying, the kingdom of heaven is in the midst, within you. Or some of the more fundamental churches say in the midst of you. So where's the midst? Where's the middle? See, if you take a look at this as a whole circle, the R around here, what's in the middle of that circle? Okay, so each one of us has divine programming sitting there waiting for you to become aware of it. Anybody ever had a computer crash? Would you agree? Forget it. Just come start over again. Okay? And here's what happens. We as human beings, and at some point in time, the human race said, okay, I want to do it on my own. I can prove I don't need you, God. I can do it on my own. Okay, so we separated from this divinity within. And most of the religions of the world still talk about God is within. Okay, it's returning to the Father. The whole prodigal son out of Luke 15 is the son asked for his inheritance and got the money from his father. Remember, we're talking a culture probably 2,000 years ago, and in that culture, the inheritance came down to the son, and this was the second son. It wasn't the oldest son. So he got his inheritance and then left. And it says he wasted his money in riotous living. Anybody familiar with riotous living? Been there? Come on now. Mark and I had a conversation this morning. She was surprised that I had an alcoholic background. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Wow. But now again, here's what's happening. Consciousness. This is consciousness. This is what you're aware of in the physical world. So the physical world gives you feedback, and then it's stored here, and what's stored here is what runs our life, not what's true. Anybody familiar with the idea, I keep trying, and it's not working? Mainly because we're working from this, not from this. Because this is a program that is slowly, it is developed from what we have learned, and it's a product of our background. Okay? It's amazing, you know, we've been involved in a lot of things. It's amazing to me, even in counseling sometimes, you deal with somebody, okay, and the same situation keeps coming up over and over and over again. Why? Because it's deeply embedded in their subconscious mind. And it's a program that overrides the natural instinct. Anybody familiar with the key hard nose? Do you ever have that little twinge? Well, that's not right. Or I know it shouldn't be, or I shouldn't be doing this. This is crazy. Or I need to be doing more. Okay, that is conscience or the heart of you saying, hey, get back to where you should be. Okay, so this has become so dominant in our culture. Anybody familiar with everybody wants to be right? Come on now. Okay? And I can make you kinds of stories about how I'm right. And all I'm doing, I'm sharing what I have gotten together and what I'm struggling with. So the truth is, the kingdom of heaven is win. Can I really believe that? Madeline surprised me this morning. She said, I'm starting to understand this thing's so simple. And I looked at her and I said, you're kidding me. Okay? It's so simple. The kingdom of heaven is within. So give it all up and allow spirit to take over. Okay? Now, you know what helps do that? Forgiveness. What happened to the prodigal son?
He's forgiven by his father.
He reached the point where he was broke or he was having problems, and whatever problems you want to have, it's fine. And he woke up eating what the pigs were eating, and he said, you know what? My father, the people that work for my father are better taken care of than I am, so why don't I just forgive and go back and ask for forgiveness? And even if I'm just an employee of my father, I'm better off than I am now. Perfect story. See, Jesus used metaphors, and he is describing this situation that within you is everything you need. And it's like, and I stand up here and I keep saying you're divine, you are perfect and whole. We say you're completely whole, and you sang, I'm healthy, happy, and whole. Whole means everything's taken care of. Healthy means you don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to compete with anybody. You don't have to be right. Anybody familiar with people that want to be right no matter what? And they're going to burn the house down just to prove they're right. And see, that's where we are in our culture. But if you're operating from here, and this takes, and I'm off on a tangent, I think you can tell. Elvis,
Yes, sir.
at home, for some reason, I ran into a clue, and I still don't know where it came from, but I'm going to pass it out. Excuse me, Elvis, would you pass this out?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not sure I have one for everybody, but you can make sure they get around. Thank you. And I want you to read it. Somebody. Now, Elvis doesn't remember giving me this, okay? This came from Facebook. I got enough?
That's funny.
Elvis, would you take a minute and read it?
Yes.
Loud?
Yes. Healing requires to be honest with ourselves, to see that we're the ones holding on to that is harming us, and that we now have the choice to let it go and be free.
Thank you. So here's again, this is the spiritual concept, okay? As a man thinketh, so is he, right? So as a person thinketh, so they are. So when I'm angry at my wife because she didn't take care of me, what do I keep hurting more of? Exactly what I think she did wrong. Okay? And then we become victims. Oh my God, I can't find anybody to love me. I can't find anybody to listen to me. Okay? And we keep repeating the same thing over and over again. So it's forgive myself. See, the biggest issue here is we know who we really are. Deep within us, there is that spirit of good. Or you have each one of you have a special niche in the world to fulfill. It might be the best baker in the world, okay? Or it might be the best chef in the world. It might be the best mother in the world. It might be the best accountant in the world. It might be the best speaker in the world. Whatever it is. But that's your niche. And we all know when we're not there because we're dissatisfied. And the problem is the satisfaction has to be blamed on somebody else. So we call it projection. So I know I'm getting deep into the psychological issues here, but it all ties together. Do you see it? And I want us to really understand. And it's like me. You know, the kingdom of heaven is within. And I'm living in my own creation. So I'm creating my own creation. Okay, and deep within me is that conversation of coding. And that's the promise that Jesus was saying. He kept saying the kingdom of heaven is within. And you are the light of the world over and over and over again. And then Paul came right behind him, the Apostle Paul. And he reinforced everything in that conversation. Okay, now, here's what's happened. Everybody, no, excuse me, that's incorrect. You have to be careful about words. Words are power, okay? And not everybody. But most people have reached the point where it can't be that easy. It can't, I'm not good at, not me. Okay? It has to be somebody, I'm waiting for somebody to give me the holy word that'll change everything. Somebody else has the idea. But within each one of us is this idea, your perfect life. And it's letting go of forgiving who we are. Anybody ever make mistakes? Two hands. Okay? And it's difficult to say, okay, and forgive myself first. It's like the prodigal son had to give up, be honest with himself where he was, and then go back and ask forgiveness. Now, what did the father do when he saw the prodigal son?
He went out to meet him.
Yeah, he ran to him, killed the fatted fat, got robes, gave him the jewels. All of those are metaphysical symbols for acceptance. Now, metaphysically, the prodigal son is there's two sons, the spiritual side and the material side. You see it? And the spiritual side said, oh, I'm going to go off on my own. I'm going to run things. Now, here's the trap I've been in. You can take the subconscious and through what's called auto-suggestion, change the ideas behind here. In other words, if I keep repeating the same thing over and over again, sooner or later I can change this programming. All right? Everybody got it? And that's what we've been teaching for years. And it works. And one of the Paramahansa Yogananda said, if you're questioning, the best thing to do is use this to overcome the money issues and the resource issues, and then work on this. Because we need to be free in order to understand here. Everybody got that? So this is what unity and what I've done and what others have done. And there's hundreds and thousands of speakers out doing this, auto-suggestion. But the key to it is, on the spiritual side, I can auto-suggest to become this. In other words, I'm complete and whole just as I am right now. Today, if I really believe that, what kind of life will I have? Okay. Valerie.
Are auto-suggestions the same thing as affirmation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so all I do is take the auto-suggestion idea and put it over in a spiritual context. That's why I need the rah-rah noise and excitement to get past this. This is, okay? However, once I'm past it, then it changes into the programming is already here. Okay? Now, this is my concept. No, it's not. See, Bob Proctor started this conversation for me, 35, 40 years ago. And I don't know what, I had not shared this. Okay, and this has been coming out. I don't know, I'll tell you, I was wondering, I 3 or 4 times I said, I'm not going to do this on Sunday. Okay? But I want us to really understand. And the world is always going to try, the ego always wants to be in control. Okay? And this auto-suggestion idea works, but it's controlled by what? Ego. In other words, frankly, part of me was for years, I did sleep tapes. In other words, I took endless tapes, 20 minutes, and would, I'm not even going to tell you what I parked for anyway. But to me, I wanted to be not only just a millionaire, I tried to do more than that. So for years, and God, I don't know how much to share with you. Tuesday night, I shared with the board that Amanda and I were part of an organization run by a man. He was a sharecropper, 8th grade education. Picked up the book Think and Grow Rich. He couldn't read. He had to slowly read at night. Okay? And when we were interacting with him, I think it was worth $30 million. Okay? And he flew around on an airplane, did all kinds of things. And now, and anybody reaped a full that success? What I didn't tell the board on Tuesday night, you ready for this? His marriage came apart. Within about 5 years, he went broke. As far as I know, he's still in jail because he overran. The ego took control and overran him. See, and when I use the ego here, I have to suffer with the rest of it. Okay? Now, see, here's the key. These things don't come through to the average individual. They don't. Because the world is la, 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 and we know that the normal brain doesn't really get in place until 25, 26. Okay? So we had this conversation this morning. Mark asked me, how come so many people are older in this conversation? Which is true throughout the Unity and most churches. Okay? And the reason for it is they're not ready to say, okay, I'm going to stop trying to do this, and I'm going to start working here. Does everybody understand all that means? Okay? Thank you for your question. So what's the answer? Forgiveness. See, I have to, see, you are complete and whole. You have nothing to be ashamed of. The world wants you to think you're a sinner. You're not good enough. I'm going to come over here. By the way, the reason we sit down is this room is so small. If somebody stands up, it's too overwhelming, okay? Yeah, you guys do very well. So, I'm looking at the clock. See, this part has to be overcome. And in today's world, the only way to really do it properly is to use this. See, God's Spirit has the answers to correcting things. And the scriptures are full of that. However, we deify Jesus and look at him and he's the one that did it. And then we sanctify him. The truth is, you're exactly the same. Jesus said, these things I do, ye shall do, and other things. Look it up, John 17. Okay? And did he say it? Yes. So what does that mean? That means all he did was take a human form and overcome the human form by learning to work from the heart, the divinity that he was, and we we all have that same exact possibility. And that's why people are willing to spend years in monasteries. That's why people are what? And how come things work? And once this starts, the only thing I'm aware of, things happen. You know, things work out. Anybody familiar with miracles? It's amazing. Sometimes your bank accounts, you don't know where the money came from. Yes, you're thinking.
I think it's super interesting, human nature, right? We want things to change, we want things to be different, but we're not willing to change, and we're not willing to be
Yes.
different.
And because
Stay in our own way.
And because it doesn't change, we blame other people. It's called projection. Okay, everybody wants to run things their way, and it's not happening because you won't listen to me, or whatever. Okay? So that's why, where are we as a congregation? We're in a contemplative mode, looking for this. Now, are we doing some of this? Yes. That's the affirmation. See, you're understanding the affirmative. But in the affirmation, it is positive in its conversation. The problem people don't realize is they're using auto-suggestion for problems. Because, oh my God, I feel so terrible. Okay. See, this keeps saying that the law of attraction says whatever you speak. So I'm good enough. Okay. Right? And the truth is, nobody does it to us. And that's the dirty, dirty secret. But the same secret says, here's the possibility. And the key to it is, I don't have to pray for perfection, I just have to stop thinking. See, prayer is silence. Everybody take a deep breath. So do you understand why? Now see here, it's folks, sometimes you never know what's going to happen, okay? And when the ego has a strong pattern it follows, then it's happy because it's subconscious. It needs to be interrupted in a different pattern once in a while. It's called pattern interrupt in a normal function. And if you don't believe me, try it. Every time you open the door, you'll use your right hand or your left hand. Okay, so for a week, use your left hand. Here's another one. Let me show you this. Everybody put your hands together with your thumbs up. Okay, got it? Now this way. Crossing. Okay? Now what I want you to do is put the other thumbs on top. How do you feel? See, we are so programmed here. Okay, Tommy?
I've been thumbed.
So it's kind of like, okay, what else can we do with this? See, this is the basic to start on. And it's like we come to church and go, la, 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 it feels good. But the truth is, this is the structure, and we're stuck in this structure, and we don't know. And so that's why God is asking, is that our affirmations positive auto-suggestion? Sure. The problem is we're using negative auto-suggestion most of the time. So,
Robert, I remember a couple of years ago I was having a problem with someone, and I went up, and we chatted, and you said, put your hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart. And everything changed.
yeah.
And I don't even remember what the problem was.
No. See, that's the issue. It's gone. This is the center. See, and you see, God is in the midst of it all. Kingdom of heaven is in the midst. Here it is, right in the middle. Okay, and even the Hawaiian language, the superconscious is what they call God, comes from here, right? The gut. Anybody familiar with the gut feeling? As a matter of fact, those of you that are martial artists know if you hit your solar plexus, you stop a person. Okay? Anybody else? Okay, Kingdom of Heaven is it. The word is forgiveness. See, this is, we're wired in this. And see, and your ego is going to say, no, he's wrong. Trust me. Because my own ego said, now you're full of it. Notice I didn't use a nasty word. You guys gotta lighten up, you really do. We're here to have fun. See, the ego wants us to struggle, okay? So anyway, I'm gonna end it there. We're going to do more, but understand, we are a spiritual community, learning spiritual things, overcoming this, and learning how to be more heart-centered in what we do. So a lot of people will tell you unity is now dealing more and more with connecting the heart with the mind, because the mind is the domain of the ego that runs us. And the ego wants to take control, and the heart is saying, okay, do whatever you want to do. I'm still here. So that's what we're dealing with. So I love you dearly, and I want you to love yourself. Who's the greatest person in the world? I am.
I'm the greatest.
Tommy is.
And we're going right back to all to values, okay, which is part of that conversation. So I do love you and I appreciate you. Who knows what we're going to talk about next week, by the way, but we're going to start on this conversation.